We don't actually have fixed award. We don't even have a proper bank account. And we're basically piggybacking the charity called Art Center Group, which basically managing our finance for us. Basically, we are artist association, artists and curators, and basically people who's actually generally interested in art, but also deeply concerned about the situation happening in Japan. And one of the way that we have run, this is our 5th year of artist residency, and one of the way that we have managed to deliver those events is, as you are already kindly participating by you drinking beer, wine, and juice, and also we are also involving some students who I teach at Central St. Martin and also CCW, which is short for Chelsea, Camberwell, Wimbledon, and some of the students basically yearly basis contribute towards this project by making little postcards. Some of them are just made postcards, not relating to the subject, but some of them actually develop their work in relation to the subject in an area and in political activities and also the environmental issues. And so it's sort of becoming quite interesting juxtaposition between education, art, political activism, so this kind of interesting juxtaposition that's kind of evolving through our activities. And also the reason we are kind of just selling beers and wines is partially because in order to give maximum freedom to the artists who will come and talk about actually quite sensitive issue in Japan especially, about nuclear fallout situation. X kindly, letting us use their space in hosting this artist residency, entire month actually hosting us in this project space. So things like that basically enable us to do ArtAction without huge sponsors and backers. And although if you are thinking of maybe sponsoring us, we wouldn't say that we would do the background check, because it's actually not. It's not actually joke sort of matter, because at the moment there's a lot of funding actually made available from Japanese government funds. That's basically the background to this project, and what we are going to do this evening. So basically we have panels here, which I am actually really, really grateful that we have this really high-profile, knowledgeable, panels, and also kind of interesting angle they take on the subject matter. So we have basically used of this space, and we're aiming to sort of vacate by 9-ish, but we basically have opportunity to develop the conversation within the panel, but eventually we will open that to the floor. You can ask the question later. And then also afterwards, after the discussion, we would again reinstate the exhibitions with the sign. Also, that goes back in there. So you can actually look at the exhibition again afterwards. And then if any of you want to join us with Chinese afterwards, we're going to go to Deptford High Street. So that's the kind of rough idea of tonight. So first of all, I think I'm going to sit down. Right, so first of all, I'd like to introduce our panel tonight, starting from left-hand side, well, from your right-hand side, Jason Waite, independent curator. He's actually involved in quite infamous exhibition called Don't Follow Wind. I don't know if you've heard of it, but he would explain what this exhibition's sort of idea behind why this is actually taking place. But we're very, very honoured to have Jason amongst us at Homma. And next to Jason, Dr. Ele Carpenter from Goldsmith College. Yeah, and she's also a curator and writer and researcher and associate curator for Art Catalyst and Build Musée. And she's also a senior lecturer at Dawson College. Again, she will talk about her interest in subject area and the project that she has been working on. And next to Ele,
Yes.
Kyun-Chome. Kyun-Chome is a artist unit, and Homma and Eri Homma and Nabuchi. They work together. And I have to say, this is very rare kind of unit where it functions as a unit, not as a one boss and one assistant. And I have actually witnessed that through their working practice here. And I'm very, very honoured to introduce Kyun-Chome, who's basically 2016, this year's winner of ArtAction UK Residency Award. Yeah, so what I would like to ask to the panel is, I don't know if you can see from the back, but we want to ask them to do a short kind of presentation, starting from Jason, okay? Sure. Yeah, to show you what you do, what your perspectives on the subject matter that we are trying to explore. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much for the introduction.
Are you with the...
Yes, this is.
It's looking good.
Can everybody see? Okay.
There are a couple of seats at the front here if anyone wants to move down.
There's hopefully not too much text. But perhaps, I haven't heard the project described as infamous before. And I think with infamy comes a lot of obscurity and certainly a lot of rumor. And I think rumor is something that's of course very important in Fukushima and in the after effects of the disaster. So in a way, I hope tonight both clarifies and also maybe produces different forms of rumors. But I'm Jason Waite, and I'm involved in this exhibition, which is called Don't Follow the Wind. And it's an exhibition inside the Fukushima exclusion zone that surrounds the nuclear power plant, which had a disaster in March of 2011. And I guess I will go over this slide, because I am the first one speaking tonight. And I'm sure this is very well known to many people here. But in March 11th, 2011, there was an earthquake and tsunami which precipitated a series of events which were later seen and judged by various panels as being man-made and largely man-used in the masculine sense here as well, a man-made disaster. And this is the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, which had a number of reactors melt down and produce quite a large cloud, which moved well beyond what we're looking at here, which is the province of Fukushima, which is fairly near to Tokyo, about 200 kilometers away. And presently, this cloud has displaced 100,000 people. And not only the cloud, which is working, but also, besides air, we're speaking about water, and there's been a huge contamination in the Pacific Ocean. Lights go on twice a day, in the early morning and the late evening, when people should be in their home. So in a sense, there's no light except for this single house that goes on every single day, twice a day in Fukushima. So perhaps we don't hear news about Fukushima, or we're not aware of the present state of the residents, but we do know that this light is turning on. So how to function as a kind of an image without an image that can again begin to work with us in very different ways. Meru Kazumi, who's based in Yokohama, interviewed one of the collaborators on the project who was displaced, and interviewed him for about 15 hours in his home where he presently lives and in his evacuated home in Fukushima. And out of the 15 hours chose one 3-minute segment. And this 3-minute segment is where the former resident was imagining what the first dinner would be like when he returns home with his family. And it's a very short dialogue which he made up between him and his wife. And he arrives home from work and his wife had made soup and they're sitting at the table and they're eating and just speaking very simply about how this soup has very unique taste here. And then the imaginary also has this fragility where the wife announces that she would not like to stay in the home and she would like to return probably the next day. And he agrees with this assessment of the circumstance. So in a way, what do the notions of return mean when there is a cleanup operation going on and when people are moving back into certain areas which are globally contaminated, but there's a very small percentage of people moving back, so the communities themselves have been forever ruptured. And this 3-minute piece, actually, a video of this circulates outside, but there's no audio with this video. Instead, the audio only exists inside the exhibition site. And this is a present image of the audio in front of the house where he used to live. And there's somebody here, one of the curatorial team, as the exhibition actually opened on March 11th of last year. So the exhibition has been open for just over a year now. And yet there haven't been any visitors. So this exhibition, which is open and accessible, or open and free to all, but which is completely inaccessible for a time period which is very unclear. So with that notion, how can exhibition itself kind of operate in very different ways? The exhibition is there, and then we've been thinking about how to create certain forms of connections outside or correspondence in a way. So we set up what we call the non-visitor center in a museum in Tokyo, at the Wataria Museum, where we asked artists who were in the show, an artist in Tokyo, but particularly the artists in the show, to come up with works that could work as forms of translation or correspondence while not necessarily showing the work, not dealing with documentation in this way. And that work was held in a space which was then inaccessible. And the wall in front of, there was a wall that was made in front of the elevator where you would open the elevator and you couldn't go in. Instead, you had to go to a different floor, climb on a very rickety scaffolding, and then look through the windows in order to see an exhibition which is not curated for the idea of looking through a vitrine, but rather for somebody who should be inside, which never appears. So there's works which can't be seen, the audio for the videos are not available. And the mediation, much like we need mediation to understand radiation, came in the form of an audio guide. So the audio guide had information on the work and the work in Fukushima, and then it actually had recordings of the work on site. So how to think about other ways and other senses which we need to begin to approach this question of not only Fukushima, but Fukushima more as a symptom of kind of larger systemic notions in society. So with that, I will perhaps pass on.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you've got lots of questions, but